Scene she never forgot. In Josephine's hometown of St. Louis, the rumor spread that a white girl had been raped. A mob descended on the Negro quarter of the town, clamoring for revenge. Within hours, 50 people lay dead. In the pall of smoke hanging above the city, one terrified little girl thought she saw the white-clothed figure of God watching over her. There were reasons enough to be afraid. Everywhere in America where there was a black community of any size, an atmosphere of terror prevailed, carefully nurtured by the Ku Klux Klan. Lynchings were frequent. The local police did little to prevent them. There were even some who wore their police uniforms by day and the uniform of the Klan by night. If the Negro community kept in its place, if a long day's work in the cotton field was followed by the simple pleasures of singing and dancing, then there need be no trouble. But heaven help the black man who wanted more than this. Appalled by the prospect of a life spent in her hometown, Josephine began to look for a way of escape. She quickly found one. Up and down the country, troops of black entertainers traveled from town to town, gathering audiences where they could. Josephine was soon on the road with the Dixie Steppers. She traveled all over the southern states and eventually north, the liveliest black community in the world, Harlem. It took a good deal of courage to arrive alone in the Harlem of the 20s. For every girl who found her place in the sun, there would be a dozen at least forced into a life of degradation and vice. For all its verve and vitality, Harlem was a place of terrible poverty. Work was scarce, prohibition was in force, mobsters flourished in the overcrowded streets. But many months on the road with the Dixie Steppers had taught Josephine the ways of the world. Still only 15, she had somehow managed to marry and then mislay, not one husband, but two. The second was a railway porter. She used his name for the rest of her life. He was called Willie Baker. In many ways, the black people of New York were just as exploited as their brothers and sisters in the South, but they could protest. They marched and they organized. This was the silent protest of 1922, a demonstration by the people of Harlem that, given the opportunity, they could easily match their white neighbors in dignity and civilized values. And in one respect, they outshone them completely. This was the Cotton Club, the height of the Jazz Age, the Black Renaissance, led by such artists as Duke Ellington, Cab Calloway, and Adelaide Hall.
The audience was all white, no blacks at all. Blacks really weren't allowed, to come in, really. And we knew that. But we worked under those conditions. We didn't like that one bit. But what could we do?
Few places anywhere had seen such a flowering of musical talent as Harlem in the early 20s. Clubs and music halls were opening all over town. Whenever she could, Josephine found a way of getting in to absorb the artistry of performers like the great Bojangles Robinson. But it was the songwriting team of Cecil and Blake who first set Josephine on the road to stardom. In this rare piece of early sound film, here they are with one of their own compositions. Eubie Blake is at the piano.